I know it's a little early to do it, but do you mind if I am the first to congratulate you guys on completing something that you have been working on for 13 years. Since kindergarten. You weren't dreaming about it back then. Senioritis didn't set in until sophomore year. But you've been dreaming about the moment that you're going to walk across that stage and get your diploma. You've been dreaming about it for a long, long time. And you need to understand a big picture of it. Getting to a high school commencement is so much more than just getting the right number of credits and the right academic disciplines for the superintendent to sign off and hand you the diploma. It's much bigger than that. It's a point of transition in your life. It's a point where you go from being a student in high school to being a graduate of high school. It's a point where you stop calling Covington or Bradford or Versailles your high school and you call it your alma mater. It is a transition point for all of you guys, and as you graduate from high school, you already distance yourself out in front of the pack. 20% of Americans do not graduate from high school, so you're in the top 80%. You say, hey Greg, that's not really that good. Yeah, but that's because America prioritizes education. You put yourself miles ahead of people in other countries, not because you're better, but because you're an American. And you really join, if you think about it, you join a long list of people who have chosen to become educated and end up being great. Now, some of these names are going to go, we studied that guy. Yeah, I know that guy. Oh my goodness, I read her, I read him. I said, people like this. Francis Bacon, John Donne, Thomas Jefferson, Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, Condoleezza Rice, Steve Jobs, John F. Kennedy, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Tennyson, John Patterson, Nobel, Alexander Graham Bell, Henry Ford, Longfellow, Ben Carson, Shakespeare, Newton, Colonel Edward Dietz, Pascal. The list goes on ad infinitum. There are so many people that have come before you that chose to stay the course and to become educated. And then they were able to change their world. In a handful of days, you guys are going to walk across the stage and you're going to get your high school diploma, and you will already put yourself in that group of people who have done something with their education. Let me put it frankly. In our modern world, we now need you to take your place. We need you to do something with your education. We need you, first of all, to further your education, whether it's through the military, through a tech school, through a community college, or a four-year institution. We need you to do something with what you have and build on that foundation. And then we need you to take the additional training and all the knowledge you have so far, and we need you to combine it with your creativity, with your fresh approach, so that you can then change your world, whether that world is here in Covington, or in Bradford, or in Versailles, or in the state of Ohio, or in the United States as a whole, or in our world, in the world stage. We need you to pull your weight, to use your leverage as educated people to make our country a better place. Now, in my listing of names of the educated that I ended with, and it goes on, in that list, you're probably like, yeah, I studied that person. Oh yeah, I really liked his theory. Ooh, really liked her poetry, stuff like that. I listed one of my favorites, 17th century English poet John Milton. Do you know Milton? Did you guys study Milton? Milton, oh good, I'm getting some nods here. I got a warm audience. Milton, of course, is most known for writing this epic piece called Paradise Lost. But to those who aren't fully educated about Milton, because read him in high school, read him in college, John, know about him. But do you know that halfway through John Milton's life, before he wrote all of his major works, that his eyesight, which was already diminishing, went completely out and he was blind? You know that? Yeah, I'm getting some nods there too. And Milton, his writing method had to change. He had to adjust creativity, apply creativity to the fact that he could no longer just grab the quill and the inkwell on the parchment and write it down for himself. And so Milton, every night, when he went to bed, he would stay awake and he would compose the lines of Paradise Lost and the other epic, Paradise Regained, and all the other epics he wrote. He would write them in his head, in his imagination, word for word. And then in the morning, when his daughters would get out of bed, he would call them And he would say, take it down. And they would take his dictation. He wrote Paradise Lost, a piece that you should read. It will take you 13 hours to get through it, and they will be hard hours, but that piece will change your life. But Milton's blindness really bothered him. He ended up writing a short poem. Maybe you studied this one. It's Sonnet number 19, which is just an editor's title to it. But it's on the topic of his blindness. It's simply called Sonnet 19 on his blindness. Not a great title, but a world-changing poem. If you don't mind, I'd like to feed that one to you. And you guys know sonnets. You studied this in school. Milton writes this about his blindness. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and light, and that one talent, which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker, and present my true account lest he return and chide, doth God exact day labor right denied? I fondly ask. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God did not need either man's works or his own gift. Those who serve him best stand and wait. You know, in classic sonnet arrangement, Milton does the normal thing. It's a classic sonnet where it's a question and an answer. The octave is a question, the sestet is the answer. And if you don't mind me translating his question in the octave, it comes down to this. Hey God, you gave me this one talent. It's the talent to write, and then you snuff out my light. I can't see. What do you expect me to get done in a whole life? A whole life worth of writing? It's a really snarky question. You guys are educated, so you probably caught the allusion that Milton makes in the early part when he says, and that one talent which is death to hide. You caught that, you got the illusion, right? It's the allusion to the story that Jesus tells in Matthew chapter 25. It's the story you learned in Sunday school, you know, the parable of the talents, where a rich landowner calls his servants in, 3 of them. And he says, gentlemen, I'm going to go out of town for a while, and I want to, divest some investment to you and see how you do with it. So he calls the first guy up, and he goes, look, here's some talents, 5 of them. Here, you take these, talent is a piece of money. Here, you take these and you invest these. Okay, thanks. Second guy, you get a handful, you get 3 of them. You take these investments. Thanks. Last guy, there's nothing to claim. He goes, here, you get 1 talent, 1 piece of money, you go and invest it. And then the landowner leaves. He goes away for a long, long time, and oh my goodness, the servants are about their business. After a long time, the master comes back, and he settles his accounts, and he calls the guy that got the bunch. He goes, how'd you do? He goes, I doubled the money. You gave me 5, I got 5 more. I got a whole bunch of them. He goes, well done, good and faithful servant. He goes to the second guy, and he goes, how'd you do it? He goes, well, you gave me 3, I doubled it. I doubled it. He goes to the third guy, the guy that only got the 1 that doesn't claim. He goes, how'd you do? The guy hangs his head. Master, I knew that you're a tough master, that you harvest where you do not sow. I knew that you're really a tough account manager. So I was terrified by that. And I took my 1 talent and I dug a hole and I hid it so nobody would steal it. And I just dug it up and I brushed off the dirt. Here's your 1 talent back. This is what I got. And the master is furious. He goes, you wicked, lazy servant. He called his bluff. It wasn't because of fear that he didn't invest his talent. It was because the guy was lazy. He goes, you wicked, lazy servant. You give me that talent. And he goes and he hands it to the guy that has a whole stack of them. And he goes, here, take this and do something with it. Now like that guy. And then he throws that guy out of the household. That's the illusion that Milton's going for when he says to God in this sonnet, and that 1 talent which is death to hide lodged with me useless. God, what do you expect from me? You give me 1 talent and then you give me blindness, Milton says. But in the sestet of the Italian sonnet that Milton writes, that answer comes from Milton. Sonnets are always question, answer, problem, solution. So in the sestet, the angel named Patience steps in and says, hey Milton, let's get one thing straight here. God does not need you to get the job done. God doesn't need you to get the job done. He has thousands of angels at his beck and call, and if he wants the job done, he'll call them into action. God doesn't need you to get the job done. He just wants you to be willing to get the job done. It's a tough sign. It's a life-changing sign. I said at the beginning, we need you guys to take your place. We need you guys to take the education that you've gotten in 13 years and the creativity that is on in the windowsills and the talent in music and the talent in athletics. I said, we need you to take your place and to deepen your skills and to be ready to serve and to leverage what you can for our world, because our world needs some fresh talent. We need you. God doesn't. He's got angels. Let me illustrate it this way. So you guys come to church today at our church. Normally you're elsewhere, but you come here because we're throwing this baccalaureate, what is that? Oh yeah, service for you guys. And you come, and some guy that stands all up. I mean, I'm stalwart at 5'4". I mean, look at this stunning picture of, never mind, let's go on. And I try to tell you that we need you, but God doesn't need you. A message that I framed through John Milton's Sonnet 19 because I figure it's an academic kind of time when we're talking to students graduating from high school. You probably know John Milton, so that's why that's my strategy. And truth be told, whether or not you had prom last night, or whether or not you just, whatever, truth be told, all of you will forget every word I say before your lunch is fully digested. Why are you laughing? Not at all. God doesn't need me to talk to you guys. In fact, truth be told, God can get the job done better without me. If a small animal showed up today for baccalaureate, one that could speak, I don't mean animatronics, I mean a real squirrel or rabbit or deer, walked into baccalaureate about this time and butted me out of the way. If a squirrel came up to the podium and adjusted the microphone to his height, which wouldn't be much lower than mine, if the squirrel did that and then cleared his little squirrel throat and said, "Did you study Milton in high school? Let me tell you about John Milton." I guarantee something. Long past your digested lunch today, when you come back for your 10-year reunion, your 25-year reunion, 50-year reunion, when you're barely old enough to walk in the door, do you know what you're going to be talking about? Remember that time that squirrel gave us these right? Don't remember it, kid? I carry a gold coin just to remind myself not to waste my talent. God doesn't need you to get the job done. God doesn't need me to get the job done. That's what Milton comes to terms with in Sonnet 19. That's why Milton doesn't give up on his talent, even though he goes flying. Milton continues to write the hard way, dictating. And 400 years later almost, we're still needing Milton. I'm not lying to you. We need you. As humans, we need you. We need your education to continue. We need your fresh eyes. We need your perspective. We need your creativity that is just flowing through your veins right now. We need you to better our world, because we're getting into a time period where our world is pretty ugly. We need you. God doesn't need you. But what God wants from you is your willingness. If I could end on such a simple thesis, we need you, but God doesn't, but he wants your willingness, a little bit of humble man's advice. 3 pieces of advice. Obviously, God has given you talent. Number 1, don't bury your talent. Don't bury it next year when you go off into this first year of freedom, whether it's at college or in career or in the military. Do not bury your talent in the bad choices that have become culturally acceptable for 18-year-olds in the world of freedom. So many of the class of 2015 across America will wash out. They'll sleep around, they'll drug around, they'll drink around, they won't go to class. Don't bury your talent. Live above the cultural expectation. And don't bury it in fear. 4 years after you graduate from college, 4 or 5 years into your military career, 4 or 5 years into whatever career you choose, you might get insecure. Don't bury it in fear. Invest it. Piece of advice number 2. Take the talent that God has given you and ready it. Ready it in practicing and planning and expanding your mind. I know. You guys are out of time, and it can last for like 2 weeks after graduation, then re-engage. You're tired. You're tired of studying for tests. You're tired of writing papers. You're tired of your own projects. Fine. Let that tiredness last for about 2 weeks. And then take your talent and start readying it again for the next task. Piece of advice number 3. Once you have taken your talent and invested your talent and readied your talent, then stand there and wait. With your eyes open and your ears up for opportunity to use your talent. And maybe, God will call you into service. And you will be that point man, that point woman in your community, in your church, in your corporation, that will have the fresh idea that we need for the future of our country and the future of our world. Class of 2015, we are cheering for you. And so I say it in one word. Godspeed. 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 May God add His blessing to the reading and explanation of His word.
Thank you.